Beneath the massive ice sheet of Antarctica lies a whole continent, the size of Australia, waiting for its discovery. Its majestic mountain ranges rise to 3,000 meters, creating breathtaking landscapes that could change our perception of this remote corner of the planet. Massive rocks, exposed from the ice cover, contrast with the snow-white plains and deep valleys that seem to have frozen in time. Imagine the winding riverbeds, once teeming with life, now buried under the ice, but once they flowed actively, forming picturesque landscapes. 80% of the fresh water on Earth is found in the ice sheets of Antarctica, emphasizing the scale of this hidden world. In recent years, scientists like Dr. John Smith from the Polar Research Institute have begun studying subglacial lakes, such as Lake Vostok, which lies beneath 4 kilometers of ice and contains a unique ecosystem isolated from the outside world for millions of years. This lake, over 100 kilometers long and 40 kilometers wide, was discovered in 1986, and its study may provide insights into life in extreme conditions. Microorganisms found in such conditions open new horizons in biology and ecology, demonstrating that life can exist where it was not expected. Compare this with other ecosystems on Earth, where life depends on sunlight, but here in Antarctica, organisms have adapted to life without it, using chemical reactions to obtain energy. The ice shields covering this continent not only form unique landscapes, but also have a critical impact on global climate. The melting of these glaciers could raise sea levels by several meters, significantly affecting coastal cities worldwide. 8 million years ago, when the climate was warmer, sea levels were significantly higher, and Antarctica looked completely different from today. These facts underscore the importance of this region in understanding climate change and its consequences. When we speak of the hidden world beneath Antarctic ice, we are not just discussing geography. We are talking about our future. Research shows that subglacial rivers and lakes can become important indicators of climate change, and scientists like Dr. Catherine Fitzpatrick are actively working to study these subglacial systems to understand how they can influence global processes. The 18th and 19th centuries witnessed the first expeditions to Antarctica, but it was not until the 21st century that we began seriously exploring its subglacial ecosystems and geological structures. Each new project, each new ice drill, is a step towards unraveling the mysteries this continent hides under its ice cover. With each passing year, we are getting closer to understanding what this hidden world looks like, but there is still much to learn. This area remains one of the last white spots on the map of our world, and its study could fundamentally change our perception not only of Antarctica, but of the entire planet. In 1991, when serious research on subglacial lakes began, the world began to realize that beneath the ice, there are not only geological phenomena, but also unique forms of life that can tell us about how life could have developed in other cold corners of our planet, such as Europe and Mars. Beneath the ice of Antarctica, there are not just lakes, but entire ecosystems that could astonish even the most experienced researchers. Lake Vostok, one of the largest subglacial lakes in the world, was discovered in 1996 thanks to radar studies conducted by Russian scientists. These studies enabled the creation of three-dimensional maps of the subglacial surface, which was made possible by the use of radar methods that penetrate ice and allow for the detection of water bodies hidden beneath multi-kilometer layers of ice. The area of Lake Vostok is comparable to the area of Lake Ontario, and its maximum depth exceeds 900 meters. This isolated water system maintains liquid water due to geothermal heat emanating from the Earth's interior, as well as the pressure exerted by the overlying ice layers. Such conditions allow for the preservation of unique biological forms of life that could have evolved in complete isolation over millions of years. The discovery of Lake Vostok was a breakthrough in science, sparking intense debate about the possibility of life existing in extreme conditions. Scientists believe that the waters of this lake may harbor microbial forms of life that have no counterparts on the surface of Earth. This discovery not only expands our knowledge of life on Earth, but also raises questions about how life might have existed on other planets, such as Mars, which also has subglacial lakes. The water in Lake Vostok, trapped under ice for more than 20 million years, serves as a true time capsule, allowing researchers to study past climate changes and the evolution of ecosystems. Research conducted on Lake Vostok opens new horizons in understanding the biosphere and its limits, as well as underscoring the importance of protecting these unique ecosystems. Interestingly, similar subglacial lakes have been discovered in other parts of Antarctica, such as Lake Vostok, which is just one of more than 40 known subglacial water bodies, including Lakes Subglacial and Merzlova, which also attract the attention of scientists due to their mysterious conditions and potential biological activity. These water bodies, isolated from the external environment, may contain clues about how life could have adapted to extreme conditions, making them a subject of study for many research groups from around the world. Antarctica is not just a continent covered in ice. It is the guardian of approximately 70% of all the fresh water on the planet in the form of frozen masses. If we were to melt all this ice, the level of the world ocean would rise by 58 to 60 meters, which could significantly alter the geography of coastal regions on a global scale. Glaciers that border the coasts can reach thicknesses of more than 3 kilometers, and within their depths lies water that is crystal clear and of unparalleled transparency. This water, trapped in ancient ice, has not interacted with the surrounding environment for a long time, making it one of the cleanest on Earth. Light penetrating through the layers of ice is refracted, creating stunning shades of blue and turquoise that are impossible to find in other parts of the world. These colors range from bright sky blue to deep emerald green, inspiring awe in researchers and tourists who have the opportunity to witness these ice landscapes firsthand. The layers of ice can contain air bubbles that have preserved the atmosphere from millions of years ago, providing scientists with a unique opportunity to study past climate changes and the composition of the atmosphere. For example, in 2006, a team of Russian scientists drilled through the ice sheet to a depth of more than 3 kilometers and extracted samples containing gases that existed in the atmosphere more than 80,000 years ago. This discovery allowed scientists to understand how the climate of Earth has changed over millennia. Each cubic meter of ice is not just frozen water. It is a true chronicle of our planet's past. It is impossible not to note that the glaciers of Antarctica, such as the Phillip and the Thatcher glaciers, are continuing to melt under the influence of climate change, which is causing serious concern among scientists. Their observations show that the rate of melting is increasing, and if this process is not slowed down, the consequences could be catastrophic for all of humanity. In 2000, a record level of melting was recorded, when the area free of ice increased by 30% compared to previous years. This is a serious cause for concern for researchers who are actively seeking ways to prevent further changes. Antarctica is not only a key element in the global ecosystem, but also an important object for future ecological research that will help understand how to maintain balance in the face of global warming. Imagine a world where the sea level rises by 2 meters, as predicted by scientists to happen by the end of the 21st century, if the melting of Antarctic ice continues at the current pace. According to experts, this would result in the flooding of coastal cities like Amsterdam, which is located just 1 meter above sea level, and vast territories in Bangladesh, home to over 100 million people. Venice, renowned for its canals and historic architecture, would gradually submerge, leading to the loss of its unique cultural heritage. St. Petersburg, built on marshy lands, would also be at risk, with its magnificent palaces and cathedrals submerged. New Orleans, already suffering from floods and hurricanes, would be one of the first cities to experience the consequences of rising sea levels. The sound of retreating and advancing water would serve as a reminder that nature is reclaiming the land, washing away cities built over centuries. The salty sea air penetrating deep into the continents would be a harbinger of changes unimaginable. New shorelines would be drawn, and familiar world maps would need to be redrawn. These changes will not happen overnight. They will unfold over centuries, but their effects will be irreversible. Scientifically based forecasts show that each centimeter of sea level rise could flood up to 6 million square kilometers of land, an area larger than the entire country of France. Scientists like Dr. James Hansen predict that if the ice sheets of Greenland and Antarctica continue to melt at the current rate, sea levels could rise by more than 6 feet meters by the year 2230, putting entire nations at risk of extinction. Few people consider that the ice of Antarctica is not just frozen water, but a genuine time capsule containing the air of epochs preceding our own. These ice layers form from snow that, falling on the continent's surface, gradually compacts under its own weight. Initially, snow turns into firn, then into dense ice. This process can take thousands of years. For instance, in East Antarctica, the ice layer can reach a thickness of over 4 kilometers, with each new snowfall adding new material to this mass. Within the ice blocks, tiny air bubbles preserve the atmosphere of past eras. These bubbles retain the atmospheric composition that existed when the snow was still not ice. Research by scientists such as Dr. Kenneth C. Kelly shows that analyzing these bubbles provides data on climatic conditions, temperature, and gas composition, such as carbon dioxide and methane, over the past 100,000 years. These tiny time capsules offer a unique opportunity to study climate changes, such as ice ages and warming periods, and to understand how human activity began to influence the atmosphere only a few hundred years ago. The science of ice cores, for example, involves drilling at stations like the East Antarctic Station Davydoff, where researchers extract samples and analyze them in laboratories to study how the atmosphere has changed over time. These samples also contain particles of dust, volcanic ash, and other materials that traveled through the air in ancient times. These elements allow scientists to reconstruct not only atmospheric conditions, but also events such as volcanic eruptions that could have influenced the climate. For example, the ash from the Toba volcano eruption in Indonesia about 78,000 years ago was found in ice cores, indicating global climate changes caused by this event. These findings highlight that Antarctic ice is not just frozen water, but a vital archive containing keys to understanding our past. Approximately 34 million years ago, when the continental plate of eastern Antarctica separated from Gondwana and began its slow movement towards the South Pole, the climate of the region began to undergo significant changes. This separation acted as a catalyst for the gradual cooling that led to the transformation of lush forests, which once covered the area, into lifeless, icy deserts. Over millions of years, as the continent shifted, it encountered changes in temperature and humidity, which contributed to changes in the landscape. Initially, tropical forests with diverse flora and fauna grew here, but with each passing million years, the climate became increasingly harsh. Around 30 million years ago, during the Oligocene epoch, the process of forming the first glaciers began, which initially appeared in mountain regions such as the Transantarctic Mountains. Glaciers gradually descended into valleys, capturing new territories. By the beginning of the Miocene epoch, around 23 million years ago, the ice cover had significantly expanded, forming a continuous ice shield that became the main element of the Antarctic landscape. This ice shield, which reaches a thickness of more than 4 kilometers in some places, has become a repository of Earth's climatic history, preserving changes in temperature and atmospheric composition in its layers. Glaciers formed at high altitudes slowly moved downwards, cutting through mountain valleys, forming fjords and lakes that today remain important indicators of climatic changes. As a result of this process, which lasted millions of years, Antarctica transformed from a green continent into one of the harshest and coldest regions on the planet. Currently, the ice cover of Antarctica covers an area of approximately 14 million square kilometers, which is almost 90% of the entire continent. The ice shield of Antarctica is a complex and dynamic system divided into the eastern and western shields. The eastern shield, which is significantly larger in area and thickness, consists of ice that reaches a thickness of more than 4 kilometers in some places, while the western shield is more vulnerable to climate changes and melts faster. Ice streams formed in these shields move slowly but inexorably, crossing the continent and flowing towards the ocean. Their speed varies from several centimeters to several meters per year, creating unique conditions for studying the dynamics of glaciers. When viewed from a bird's-eye view, these streams resemble slow-moving rivers that carve silent, snow-white plateaus, leaving deep cracks and channels in their wake. The sounds emanating from the moving ice create an atmosphere of majestic silence. You can hear the characteristic creaking, scraping, and dull rumbling as gigantic masses of ice shift, as if nature itself were speaking its own language. These sounds arise due to the tension and fractures in the ice structure, making the ice shield not only a visual spectacle, but also an audiovisual phenomenon. Ice shelves, such as Larsen and Ross, represent the boundary between land and sea, floating on the water's surface, and their collapse can lead to significant changes in sea level. In the 20th century, scientists observed an acceleration in the melting of ice shelves, which raises serious concerns about global warming. For instance, according to research conducted in 2018, ice shelves are losing around 31 billion tons of ice per year. The melting of these ice shelves also increases the flow of fresh water into the oceans, which can affect global ocean circulation. Remarkably, even small changes in temperature can have massive consequences for the entire ice cover. The impact of climate change on Antarctica is already evident in the form of changes in ice thickness, as confirmed by satellite observations. These data show that since 2003, the total volume of ice on the Western Shield has been decreasing by 14 billion tons per year, equivalent to the amount of water needed to fill 7 million Olympic-sized pools. Close your eyes and imagine how the icy continent of Antarctica affects the climate of the entire planet. The cold air that forms over the giant ice sheets creates powerful circulation currents in the atmosphere, which in turn influence the weather on other continents. This phenomenon, known as the polar vortex circulation, is responsible for the formation of many climatic conditions in the temperate zones, including sharp temperature changes and precipitation. Scientific research shows that changes in the surface temperature of the ocean around Antarctica affect the speed and intensity of these currents. For example, since the year 2001, a noticeable warming has been observed in the vicinity of the Antarctic Peninsula, which leads to changes in atmospheric circulation and influences the climate in South America and other continents. Additionally, cold bottom waters forming around Antarctica begin their journey through the world ocean. These waters, known as Antarctic deep waters, are formed through a complex process where warmer and less dense waters rise to the surface, while cold and more dense waters sink. This process sets in motion the global ocean conveyor belt, which facilitates the exchange of heat and nutrients throughout the ocean. According to the Global Ocean Observing System program, about 60% of the world's ocean currents depend on these cold waters. When these waters reach the equatorial regions, they contribute to the formation of various climatic phenomena, such as El Niño and La Niña, which can cause severe flooding or droughts in different parts of the globe. The interconnection between Antarctica and the rest of the world cannot be underestimated. Changes in the ice cover directly reflect on the sea level and, consequently, on coastal ecosystems. According to scientists, the sea level has been rising by 3 millimeters per year since 2003, posing a threat to small island states and low-lying areas. These facts underscore that human actions in one part of the planet can have far-reaching consequences for the entire globe. Changes in Antarctica become a catalyst for changes that resonate in the most remote corners of the Earth. The transformation of snowflakes into ice in Antarctica is a remarkable phenomenon with multiple stages. Initially, light and fluffy snowflakes, falling onto the surface, form a soft snow cover. This snow, composed of 18-sided crystals, gradually loses its cozy, lace-like structure under the weight of new layers. As more snow is added, the lower layers begin to compact, forming granular firn. At this stage, the snow loses its pristine whiteness and starts to acquire a grayish hue as the air trapped in the crystals is gradually expelled under pressure. The density of firn is about 0.7 grams per cubic centimeter, which is significantly higher than that of fresh snow, which is approximately 0.07 grams per cubic centimeter. Over time, firn gradually transforms into crystalline ice, which has a density of about 930 kilograms per cubic meter. This process can take from decades to centuries, depending on climatic conditions and snow pressure. The ice crystals become larger and their structure more uniform. The color of the ice changes from white to blue, as larger crystals better absorb the red spectrum of light. As a result, crystalline ice with high transparency is formed, which can be observed in Antarctic ice sheets. It not only reflects sunlight, but also plays a crucial role in climate processes, affecting Earth's albedo. This ice, formed over many years of snow accumulation, can reach thicknesses of several kilometers in some regions of Antarctica, such as the East Antarctic ice sheet, which has a thickness of up to 4 kilometers. Under the pressure of ice layers in Antarctica, the ice behaves like mysterious creatures hiding their secrets under the thick layers of multi-year snow. When the weight of several kilometers of ice presses on the lower layers, the pressure increases to such levels that the air trapped in the crystal lattice is squeezed out. This leads to a change in the structure of the ice. At depths from 100 to 400 meters, crystals form whose density is significantly higher than that of the upper layers. At depths greater than 2 kilometers, the ice becomes not only denser, but also acquires unique crystal forms such as tetrahydrate or even cubic ice, which cannot form under standard conditions. The temperature at the base of the ice shield is usually significantly higher than at the surface, reaching +1 to 2 degrees Celsius. This is due to geothermal heat emanating from the Earth's crust, which, in combination with pressure, can cause the ice to begin to melt, forming water pockets underneath. These pockets reduce friction and allow glaciers to move across the Earth's surface, creating amazing ice flows that can reach speeds of several meters per day. In some places in Antarctica, such as the Taylor Glacier, the temperature at the base can reach +3 degrees, making it unique among many other glaciers. This interaction of pressure, temperature, and crystal structure of ice creates complex and mysterious processes that remain invisible to the human eye, but are critically important for understanding the dynamics of ice shields and their impact on global sea levels. Existing research shows that even small changes in these conditions can lead to significant consequences for the climate and ecosystems of Earth. Imagine the subglacial world of Antarctica, which preserves ancient landscapes like a time capsule. Massive ice shields, reaching thicknesses of up to 4 kilometers, conceal beneath them mountain ranges, valleys, and even lakes that have existed for millions of years. Research indicates that some of these landscapes have retained their shapes and features since the onset of glaciation, which began around 30 million years ago. Scientists like Dr. David Ferris from the University of California, Santa Barbara, use radar technologies to detect subglacial forms of relief that have remained unchanged for millions of years. For example, in the 21st century, hidden lakes such as Lake Vostok, which is buried under ice and isolated from the external world for more than 2 million years, were discovered. These subglacial lakes and valleys provide scientists with a unique opportunity to study climatic conditions that existed before glaciation. Studies of ice samples show that the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was significantly lower than it is today, allowing for a better understanding of how the climate has changed over geological epochs. Structures such as the Transantarctic Mountains have preserved their forms, enabling scientists to analyze how they were formed as a result of tectonic processes that occurred millions of years ago. All these data help not only in understanding the history of Earth, but also in predicting future climate changes. The preserved remnants of ancient landscapes beneath the ice provide a window into the past, which, as it turns out, still plays a significant role in shaping our present. It is important to note that these studies underscore the need to protect these unique ecosystems, which may provide the key to understanding the changes occurring on our planet today. For millions of years, Antarctica was not the icy, desolate continent we know today. Around 100 million years ago, during the Cretaceous period, this land was part of the supercontinent Gondwana, which united modern-day South America, Africa, India, Australia, and Antarctica into a single whole. In this territory, tropical forests thrived, where giant ferns and conifers grew, and the air was filled with the sounds of tropical downpours crashing onto the green canopies. These forests, as we now know, were home to a diverse fauna, including dinosaurs that could freely roam this ecological paradise. For instance, fossilized remains show that Antarctica was home to crocodile-like dinosaurs and giant lizards that had adapted well to their environment. However, over time, the continents began to move slowly apart. Around 100 million years ago, Gondwana started to break up, and Antarctica, separating from other continents, began its long drift towards the South Pole. This process took tens of millions of years and was not just a geological, but also a climatic catastrophe that led to a sharp change in the ecosystem. Gradually, with its isolation from other continents, Antarctica began to cool, and its lush forests gave way to icy expanses. Scientific research shows that this climatic transition occurred approximately 30 million years ago, when the formation of the ice sheet we see today began. Modern research indicates that beneath the ice lie remnants of ancient ecosystems, including not only plants, but also animals that once inhabited this continent. In particular, scientists have discovered fossils indicating the presence of ancient mammals and even ancestors of modern penguins, which are believed to have originated in these forests. These discoveries help not only in reconstructing the picture of ancient life, but also in understanding how climatic changes affect biosystems. In Antarctica, scientists find not only fossilized mammals, but also evidence that this continent was once covered with lush vegetation and inhabited by various animals. For instance, in the Transantarctic Mountains, where in the late 1970s, a group of paleontologists led by Dr. Jack Horner discovered dinosaur fossils, indicating that during the Cretaceous period, around 100 million years ago, Antarctica had a warm climate. These dinosaurs, such as the Cretaceous predator Eutegnosaurus, could reach lengths of up to 6 meters and likely produced loud roaring sounds that could travel kilometers. In addition to dinosaurs, fossils of ancient ferns, glossopterids, and other heat-loving plants were found, which could grow in conditions similar to modern tropical forests. Glossopterids, with their characteristic wide leaves, formed dense thickets that filled the air with the sweet scent of decaying plants and moist earth. In those distant times, when the current icy silence reigned, Antarctica was home to diverse ecosystems with abundant biodiversity, where not only dinosaurs, but also various insects and even ancestors of modern mammals thrived. These discoveries demonstrate that the continent now associated with cold and ice was once home to numerous species that adapted to warm conditions and created their unique world. Specifically, in 1983, in the vicinity of Seymour Island, traces of warm-blooded animals were found, further confirming the theory of a warm climate. Remarkably, it was here, on the icy land, that rare plant species such as conifers, which could reach heights of up to 30 meters, once grew. Today, as we traverse these mountains, we can only imagine what this world was like, filled with the sounds of rustling leaves and dinosaur cries, and how starkly it contrasts with the current silence and cold. Each discovered fragment, be it a bone or a leaf, becomes a key to unlocking the mysteries of the distant past, when Antarctica was part of the warmer continent Gondwana. In this context, the discovery of fossilized plants and animals not only enriches our understanding of ancient ecosystems, but also makes us ponder how the climate of our planet has changed over millions of years. When the Earth's climate began to change, Antarctica gradually transformed into the icy continent we know today. Around 34 million years ago, the first glaciers started to form on this continent. This process was not instantaneous, but rather stretched over millions of years, accompanied by significant changes in the ecosystem and landscape. Forests that once covered the southern parts of the continent began to retreat, giving way to cold, treeless plains. As a result of climate change and temperature drops, the soil began to freeze, and the life we knew started to disappear. During this time, many animal species that could adapt to the new conditions migrated north to warmer regions, while others could not adapt and went extinct. An example of such animals are large mammals, such as the ancestors of modern elephants, which could not survive in the cold and lack of vegetation. Meanwhile, glaciers were forming in the mountains of the continent, slowly but inexorably advancing downwards. By 14 million years ago, the glaciation was complete. Glaciers covered the entire continent, creating an ice shield that persists to this day. This ice cover is up to 3 kilometers thick in some areas, making it one of the largest ice formations on the planet. The average temperature drop by tens of degrees Celsius played a crucial role in this process, not only transforming Antarctica, but also the climate of the entire Earth. Research shows that when the temperature dropped below -6 degrees Celsius, forests disappeared completely, and ice became dominant in the ecosystem. The tectonics of plates and ocean currents played a decisive role in shaping the climate of Antarctica, which has changed dramatically over millions of years. The process of separating Antarctica from Australia and South America, which began around 100 million years ago, was a turning point. This process led to the formation of the circumpolar current, which surrounds the continent, creating a unique cold barrier. When Antarctica separated, it became isolated from the warm waters of the equatorial oceans. This current, flowing around the continent, kept the cold waters in place and prevented them from mixing with the warmer waters of the southern seas. As a result, the temperature of the water around Antarctica decreased, contributing to the formation of glaciers. The circumpolar current became a powerful climatic factor. It not only isolated Antarctica, but also altered global climatic conditions. Consequently, as the temperature of the oceans decreased, glaciers began to grow rapidly, and phenomena such as ice ages became commonplace. This, in turn, affected sea levels. During periods of maximum glaciation, sea levels fell, exerting a multifaceted influence on coastal ecosystems worldwide. Over millions of years, this climatic dynamics led to Antarctica becoming a true ice fortress, and its ecosystems acquiring unique characteristics. The study of these changes, particularly the work of researchers such as Dr. Vincent Martin from the Polar Research Institute, has shown that tectonic processes and ocean currents not only determine the climate of the continent itself, but also had a significant impact on global climatic conditions. In particular, changes in ocean circulation were one of the reasons why other regions of the Earth also experienced significant climatic changes, including temperature fluctuations and precipitation changes. Scientific research indicates that this current not only isolated Antarctica, but also influenced the spread of cold waters in other parts of the ocean, which in turn played a role in changing weather patterns worldwide. The circumpolar current became one of the key factors shaping the climatic map of our planet over millions of years, leading to the changes we observe today. At the beginning of the 18th century, as humanity was just beginning to explore the southern latitudes, Antarctica remained a mystery, hidden beneath a veil of icy waters and harsh storms. On January 18, 1773, James Cook, a British navigator and explorer, became the first to cross the Antarctic Circle, venturing into the icy waters of the Pacific Ocean on his ship, the Endeavour. Despite his persistent searches, the continent remained elusive, like a phantom beckoning researchers. Cook recorded in his journals how the icy wind burned the faces of his sailors, and the creaking of the ship's rigging created a somber symphony as they battled the storms. His expedition led to the discovery of numerous islands, but Antarctica itself remained unseen. It was not until half a century later, in 1820, that a fateful encounter with this icy continent occurred. Russian navigators Fadi Bellingshausen and Mikhail Lazarev set sail on the ships Vostok and Mirny to explore uncharted waters and find lands shrouded in legend. Their expedition was a true odyssey, filled with dangers and discoveries. After many months in the cold and darkness, on January 9, 1820, they saw the shores of Antarctica for the first time. As they approached the gleaming ice wall, the faces of the sailors lit up with amazement. They could not believe their eyes as before them rose majestic ice mountains, seemingly from another world. Each whistle of the icy wind sounded like a greeting from nature itself, and the glints of ice on the horizon seemed like precious gems sparkling against the vast ocean. This discovery marked the beginning of a new era in geography and science, as the world finally learned of the existence of the great southern continent, which had remained invisible to humanity for centuries. Since then, Antarctica has become an object of study, and its research has opened new horizons for understanding the climate, ecosystems, and history of our planet. The time when researchers challenged the merciless elements of Antarctica became an era of heroic feats, etched into history. In the early 20th century, Expeditions led by Robert Scott and Roald Amundsen aimed to be the first to reach the South Pole. On October 18, 1911, Scott, commanding the expedition Terra Nova, set out with 8 people and 20 dogs. Their route took them through harsh, icy fields, where temperatures dropped to -50 degrees Celsius. At the same time, Amundsen, who had meticulously prepared and studied previous expeditions, left Norway and set a course for the pole with a team of 4 people and 4 dog sleds. The competition between the two teams became a struggle not only with nature, but with themselves. Scott hoped for scientific discoveries and victory, but his journey was fraught with difficulties. After more than 2 months of arduous travel, on January 21, 1912, Amundsen reached the pole, leaving behind a Norwegian flag and a note for Scott. In response to this tragedy, Scott and his team, who had covered vast distances and suffered from constant hunger and lack of oxygen, reached the pole only on February 18th, finding that their dream had been shattered. The return to the camp was a true ordeal. Scott and his companions faced blizzards, piercing winds, and blinding snow, as well as food shortages, leading to exhaustion. Later, in March 1912, Scott, polar explorer Edward Wilson, and Lieutenant Henry Bowers perished from cold and starvation, leaving behind only diaries that became symbols of courage and tragedy. Meanwhile, in 1917, Ernest Shackleton's expedition on the ship Endurance faced its own challenges. The ship became trapped in the ice and broke apart, but this did not break the spirit of the team. Shackleton, demonstrating extraordinary leadership, organized a rescue operation that lasted almost 2 years. He and 5 of his companions crossed 2,000 kilometers of ocean in the lifeboat James Caird and reached South Georgia, where they were able to call for help for the remaining crew members. Shackleton and his team survived in conditions that seemed unbearable. Constant hunger, danger from wild animals, and endless blizzards became their constant companions. Physical trials were combined with psychological ones, as each day could be the last. As a result of this miraculous rescue, all members of the Endurance expedition returned home, becoming a living monument to human spirit and endurance in the face of harsh natural forces. In recent decades, Antarctica has become the subject of intense scientific research, utilizing modern technologies to study unique subglacial lakes and the continent's climate. For instance, in 2020, an international team of scientists from the University of California, Los Angeles, and other organizations launched a project to study Lake Vostok, one of the world's largest subglacial lakes, located beneath 3,700 meters of ice. To achieve this, they used ice drilling rigs capable of penetrating to depths of several kilometers and specialized equipment that ensures sterile conditions for water sampling to prevent contamination. These drilling rigs resemble powerful machines with rotating shafts and can produce humming sounds as they penetrate the ice, while scientists closely monitor the process using cameras and sensors installed on the surface. With such technologies, researchers gained access to ancient waters that have not been in contact with the atmosphere for millions of years. In 2030, for example, the first deep drilling was successfully completed in the area of the subglacial Lake Mercer, and a water sample confirmed the presence of unique microorganisms capable of surviving in extreme conditions. Modern robots also play a crucial role in these studies. For example, a submersible robot developed in 2009 was used to study the structure of ice and underwater ecosystems, helping scientists collect data on water temperature and chemical composition. These machines, resembling mini-submarines, can move using propellers and are equipped with cameras to capture images of the underwater world. They produce soft sounds when exploring subglacial lakes, while scientists control their operation from laboratories at Antarctic stations using specialized software and remote control. The contrast between the harsh conditions of Antarctica and the advanced technologies that humans bring to this continent is striking. Against the backdrop of snow-white landscapes and ice expanses, computer screens glow and complex mechanisms operate. Antarctic stations, such as McMurdo Station, become centers of scientific activity where researchers from various countries, from New Zealand to the United States, work on studying climate changes and their impact on ecosystems. In 2020, research was conducted at McMurdo Station to analyze ice samples collected using automated systems that can process information in real time. These data help scientists create more accurate climate models that can predict future changes in the environment. As a result of these efforts, Antarctica has become not only the last wild corner of the planet, but also a vital field for understanding global climate processes. Interestingly, in 2021, a new study was launched to investigate the impact of climate change on ice sheets, which could lead to a rise in sea levels by several meters. For understanding subglacial landscapes, scientists employ numerous high-tech methods that allow them to peer into the depths of Antarctica without physically destroying the ice cover. One of the most effective tools is a radar system, which sends radio waves through the ice and records their reflection from the ice-land interface and the subglacial surface. These radio waves passing through the ice encounter various layers and reflect back, creating so-called radargrams that visualize the profile of the subglacial relief. For instance, in 2018, a team of scientists from the University of Leicester, led by Dr. Emily Hardman, used radar to study the West Antarctic ice sheet, revealing a complex network of subglacial lakes and rivers that facilitate ice movement. Data obtained through radar not only show the structure of the subglacial relief, but also allow for the assessment of ice thickness, which is critically important for climate change models. Seismic methods, such as reflective seismology, also play a significant role in the study of subglacial landscapes. Scientists create artificial sound waves that penetrate the ice and reflect from various layers beneath it, enabling the construction of a three-dimensional image of the hidden landscape. In 2012, researchers from the University of California, San Diego, used these methods to create a three-dimensional model of Lake Vostok, one of the largest subglacial lakes on the planet, with a depth exceeding 4,000 meters. These technologies allow not only to study current conditions, but also to predict how climate change may affect the dynamics of ice sheets. For example, in 2019, scientists discovered that the subglacial network of lakes, interacting with ice movement, can accelerate its melting. Using seismic and radar data, researchers can accurately map subglacial structures, which is critically important for understanding processes that could lead to sea level rise. As a result, methods of radar and seismic research not only reveal the mysteries of the subglacial world, but also open new horizons for climate research, enabling the construction of more accurate forecasts. Subglacial landscapes exert a significant influence on the dynamics of glaciers, determining their speed and direction of movement. Deep valleys hidden beneath the ice cover serve as natural channels through which ice can flow freely, while elevated areas and mountain ranges, such as the Rocky Mountains in North America, create obstacles that slow down or even stop ice flows. This process can be observed in the case of the Hubbard Glacier in Alaska, which, due to its shape and structure, moves faster than many of its counterparts. Research conducted by scientists from the University of Alaska Fairbanks shows that subglacial lakes and areas of meltwater play a key role in this process, acting as a natural lubricant that allows ice to slide more easily over the base. These subglacial bodies of water, often in a state of constant change, can suddenly increase or decrease in size depending on temperature and pressure, creating unexpected effects on glacier movement. For example, in the 21st century, scientists discovered that subglacial lakes in Antarctica can suddenly overflow, causing abrupt changes in the behavior of glaciers, as happened with the Fenris Glacier on the eastern coast of Antarctica, when its movement accelerated by 30% due to the filling of a subglacial lake. The interconnection between the invisible subglacial world and visible surface processes cannot be underestimated. Understanding how the shape of the landscape beneath the ice influences its movement is critically important for predicting future changes in the ice sheet, especially in light of global warming. For instance, in 2015, a group of scientists from the University of California, Los Angeles, published a study showing that a change in temperature by even a few degrees can significantly alter the dynamics of glaciers, leading to their acceleration. Every meter that a glacier moves down a valley can contribute to a rise in sea level by millimeters. This information underscores the importance of studying subglacial landscapes for assessing climate-related risks. glaciers such as the Twining Glacier in Greenland demonstrate how subglacial structures can influence the overall climatic balance of a region. In the 21st century, its speed increased by 15%, which is linked to the melting of subglacial bodies of water, which in turn are connected to changes in the temperature of ocean water. Thus, the study of glaciers and their interaction with subglacial forms of relief opens new horizons for understanding climatic changes, allowing scientists to build more accurate models of future scenarios. Ice sheets such as the Greenland and Antarctic ice sheets are important indicators of climate change, and their study requires continuous monitoring and analysis. Interestingly, in the 20th century, scientists began to use satellite technologies to observe the movement of glaciers and subglacial forms of relief, which allowed them to obtain data with high accuracy and in large volumes. These data help not only in studying the current state of glaciers, but also in predicting their future behavior, which is critically important for assessing the possible consequences for global sea level. However, it is important to consider that each individual glacier system is unique, and its dynamics may depend on many factors, including climatic conditions, geographical location, and even historical changes in the landscape. For example, the Fjord Glacier in Norway demonstrates how changes in subglacial hydrology can affect its structure and speed. Research shows that an increase in the volume of meltwater under the glacier can lead to its faster movement, which in turn can affect the sea level in that region. In conclusion, it can be said that subglacial landscapes and their dynamics have enormous significance, not only for understanding the current state of glaciers, but also for global climatic forecasting. Imagine ice rivers slowly crawling across the surface of Antarctica, where massive glaciers like the Taylor Glacier move at a speed of sometimes just a few centimeters per day. But over time, these are colossal distances. These glaciers form due to the accumulation of snow, which over time transforms into ice under the pressure of the upper layers. When glaciers reach the coast, they become shelf glaciers, such as the Larsen Ice Shelf, which, according to research, loses around 30,000 cubic meters of ice per year due to the influence of warm seawater. These shelf glaciers do not simply float on the surface of the ocean. They are important barriers that slow down the movement of continental glaciers into the sea. When the pressure becomes too great, the ice begins to crack, leading to the calving of icebergs that can reach the size of small countries. For example, in 2012, an iceberg the size of 1,000 square kilometers broke off from the Larsen Ice Shelf. The sound of this calving is comparable to thunder. A powerful crack shatters the silence, and the vibration can be felt even at a distance. On an active glacier like the Ross Glacier, one can hear a soft creaking as the ice slowly compresses and expands, creating the sensation of a living creature beneath one's feet. These dynamic processes require attention as they directly affect sea level and global climate change. In the 2000s, scientists recorded an increase in sea level of 3 millimeters per year, and the majority of this rise is attributed to the loss of glacial ice from Antarctica. It is important to note that the dynamics of glaciers not only captivate the imagination, but also pose a serious threat to coastal cities around the world, such as New York and Tokyo. Geothermal heat plays a crucial role in the dynamics of the Antarctic ice sheet, and this heat originates from the Earth's interior. Beneath the thick ice shield, which in some places reaches 3 kilometers, there are hot zones where the temperature is significantly higher than on the surface. Volcanoes, such as Mount Erebus on Ross Island, actively release heat that can raise the temperature of the lower layers of the ice, causing partial melting. Volcanic activity in this region is not limited to Erebus alone. There are other volcanic formations on the Antarctic Peninsula that also influence the thermal conditions. Geothermal sources discovered in some areas, such as the Adélie region, create underwater hot streams that contribute to ice melting at the points of contact with the underlying surface. This heat from the Earth's interior not only raises the temperature of the ice, but also creates conditions for water formation, which acts as a lubricant, facilitating the movement of the ice. When the ice begins to melt, the resulting water seeps between the ice and the Earth's crust, reducing friction and allowing the ice to slide over the base. This phenomenon is particularly noticeable in regions where the ice is resting on low-friction rocks, such as clays. Studies conducted by scientists from the University of California show that in some places under the ice sheet, up to 200 cubic meters of water can form per square meter per day, significantly increasing the mobility of the ice. The contrast between the cold ice on the surface and the hidden heat beneath creates a complex and dynamic ecosystem. For example, at sea level, the temperature can reach -30 degrees Celsius, while near the hot sources under the ice, the temperature can be several tens of degrees above zero. This leads to the formation of unique ecosystems, such as microbial communities that thrive in conditions of increased temperature and humidity. It is important to understand that this interaction between geothermal heat and the ice creates the prerequisites for changes in global climate. Processes such as ice melting release carbon dioxide and methane, which were trapped in frozen layers, exacerbating the greenhouse effect. Changes in the movement of the ice also affect sea level, which, according to NASA data, is rising by 3 millimeters per year. The melting of Antarctic ice is considered one of the fastest processes, and its consequences may become noticeable in the next few decades. In the conditions of low temperatures and high pressures that prevail in the Antarctic waters, unique ecosystems thrive, teeming with extraordinary organisms. For instance, giant sea spiders, belonging to the class Arachnida, can reach diameters of up to 30 centimeters. These creatures possess long, thin legs that allow them to easily move across the seabed. Their bodies are covered with a hard exoskeleton that protects them from predators and extreme conditions. In the darkness of the deep sea spiders hunt small fish and invertebrates, using their long legs to capture prey. One of the most fascinating adaptations of the inhabitants of the Antarctic depths is the presence of anti-freeze proteins in the blood of some fish, such as the Antarctic icefish, which allows them to survive at temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius. These proteins prevent the formation of ice in their bodies, making their survival possible in conditions of constant cold. Additionally, the floor of the Antarctic Ocean is home to diverse invertebrates such as sea cucumbers, sponges, and corals, which can exist at depths of more than 4,000 meters. Their slow, smooth movement creates an illusion of tranquility, but in reality, they actively filter water, extracting nutrients from it. Some of these organisms have bright colors that contrast with the gloomy surroundings, which can serve to attract partners or repel predators. In the dark depths, one can also encounter Antarctic squids, which use bioluminescence for communication and hunting, emitting light to attract small fish. The integration of such unique survival mechanisms into an ecosystem where life seems impossible demonstrates how adaptation and evolution can create resilient communities, even in the most extreme conditions. The diversity of life on the floor of the Antarctic Ocean not only amazes, but also raises questions for scientists about how such ecosystems can respond to climate change and the melting of glaciers. In conditions where water temperature rises and oxygen levels decrease, many of these organisms may face extinction. For example, sea cucumbers, which play a key role in the ecosystems of the seabed, may not be able to cope with changes associated with rising temperatures. Meanwhile, some researchers, such as Dr. Linda Clark from the Institute of Oceanography, emphasize the importance of protecting these unique ecosystems, highlighting their potential as key elements in understanding global ecological changes. The existence of such organisms in the Antarctic depths is not just a biological wonder, but also a reminder of how fragile life is on our planet. Sea spiders were first described in the 18th century, and their study continues to open new horizons in understanding oceanic ecosystems. In the dark depths of Antarctic waters lies an extraordinary phenomenon that makes us ponder the nature of life: bioluminescence. Some organisms, such as deep-sea fish and certain invertebrates, possess the ability to produce light through specialized organs or symbiotic bacteria. For instance, fish from the family Ophidiidae, such as the ophid, can emit a bright blue light that helps them attract prey in conditions where visibility is almost nil. This luminescence is the result of a chemical reaction involving specific proteins and pigments. Scientists like Dr. Emily Bennett from the Institute of Marine Biology note that the color of this luminescence ranges from bluish to greenish, and sometimes reddish, depending on the species and its habitat. Bioluminescence is not only used for hunting, but also for defense. For example, some deep-sea squids can emit a bright light to confuse predators, creating the illusion that they are larger than they actually are. Other organisms, such as jellyfish, use this light to attract partners during the breeding season, making them unique not only in terms of survival, but also in reproduction. No less fascinating are other adaptations that help deep-sea creatures survive in extreme conditions. Many of them have transparent bodies, allowing them to blend into their surroundings and avoid predators. For example, transparent Antarctic krill can survive temperatures close to the freezing point of water, thanks to special proteins that prevent water from crystallizing inside their cells. These organisms can not only survive, but also thrive in conditions that seem intolerable for most other forms of life. They are true wonders of nature, possessing numerous unique mechanisms that make us rethink the possibilities of living beings on our planet. Scientists continue to study these extraordinary adaptations, seeking to understand how life on Earth can take such remarkable forms. The unique abilities of deep-sea organisms not only attract the attention of scientists, but also inspire new technologies, such as the development of bioluminescent light sources for use in medicine and ecology. There are more than 220 species of bioluminescent organisms living in Antarctic waters, each representing a living illustration of life's adaptability in the harshest conditions. The microbial life in Antarctica is astonishing in its diversity and resilience. In dry valleys such as McMurdo Valley, scientists have discovered microorganisms capable of surviving temperatures as low as -20 degrees Celsius. These organisms, including bacteria and archaea, use minimal energy and can remain in a state of dormancy for decades, awaiting better conditions for activation. For instance, in salty lakes like Lake Vostok, which lies beneath a thick layer of ice, unique microorganisms have been found that feed on methane and hydrogen sulfide, converting these toxic substances into energy. Research conducted in 2015 showed that some of these microorganisms can produce energy even in the absence of sunlight, using chemical reactions in a process known as chemosynthesis. Microbes found in porous rocks can absorb water from the atmosphere, allowing them to survive in conditions where moisture is extremely limited. These organisms possess special proteins that help them adapt to extreme conditions, including high levels of radiation and low temperatures. For example, the bacterium Psychrobacter cryohalolentis, found in glaciers, can grow and reproduce even at temperatures below zero. The study of these organisms not only broadens our understanding of life on Earth, but also opens new horizons for the search for life on other planets. Researchers such as Dr. C. Christopher Ramsey of the University of Otago claim that understanding the adaptations of Antarctic microorganisms could aid in the search for similar life forms on other celestial bodies, such as Mars or Jupiter's moons, where conditions may also be extremely harsh. Remarkably, life on our planet manifests itself in the most unexpected places, and Antarctic microorganisms are just one example of this remarkable ability. In 2020, it was established that 1 milliliter of water from a salty lake can contain up to 1 million bacteria. Imagine ice-covered lakes hidden beneath thick layers of ice, where time has stood still for millions of years. One of the most famous is Lake Vostok in Antarctica, which lies under a layer of ice more than 3 kilometers thick. This lake has been isolated from the outside world for approximately 24 million years. Scientists first drilled through the ice cap in 2012 and gained access to water that has not been exposed to the atmosphere or sunlight throughout its history. Samples taken from Lake Vostok revealed unique microorganisms, including bacteria and archaea, which are believed to have evolved independently of the rest of the biosphere. Similarly, Lake Willen, located on the western coast of Antarctica, has also attracted researchers' attention due to its depth exceeding 1 kilometer, and the fact that its water remains in a state of dormancy, preserving life in conditions that would be fatal for most known forms of life. Bacteria found in this lake use chemical reactions to obtain energy rather than sunlight, opening new horizons for understanding life in extreme conditions. Lake Ellsworth, located more than 1.5 kilometers above sea level, also contains a unique ecosystem, where organisms have been discovered that live in high-pressure and low-temperature conditions. Research indicates that these subglacial water bodies may harbor species unknown to science, which have adapted to life in complete isolation. Scientists like Dr. Simon Campbell from the University of Edinburgh use specialized sampling methods to avoid contamination, making their work particularly challenging. The process involves the use of sterile instruments and creating hermetic conditions for samples, allowing the chemical composition of the water to be preserved. Water from these lakes typically has a high mineral content and low oxygen levels, creating conditions in which many familiar organisms cannot survive. High levels of methane and hydrogen sulfide have also been found in the samples, indicating the presence of microbial communities capable of metabolism in anaerobic conditions. These studies not only expand our understanding of the limits of life on Earth, but also aid in the search for life on other planets, such as Europa, a moon of Jupiter, where similar subglacial ecosystems may be hidden beneath ice caps. Ironically, the water from these ice-covered lakes becomes a key to unlocking mysteries that have remained unsolved. Subglacial lakes in Antarctica, much like mysterious oases in a desert, represent unique ecosystems that could hold the key to understanding the potential for life on other planets. These lakes, such as Lake Vostok, located under ice sheets more than 3 kilometers thick, maintain stable conditions that support microbial communities capable of surviving in complete isolation from the external world for millions of years. Scientists like Dr. Sergei Sobolev from the Institute of Polar Research note that conditions in these lakes may be similar to those on Jupiter's moons, Europa and Ganymede, as well as Saturn's moon, Enceladus, where liquid water is also suspected to exist beneath icy crusts. These celestial bodies, like the subglacial lakes in Antarctica, are attractive for the search of extraterrestrial life. Water from these subglacial lakes contains high salt content and may be similar to the salty oceans presumed to exist beneath the ice of Europa. To explore these unique ecosystems, scientists are developing specialized technologies, such as autonomous submersibles, which can safely drill through ice and collect water and sediment samples without disturbing the ecosystem. These technologies, such as the ice drill developed by researchers from the University of Alaska, can be used in future missions to other planets with conditions similar to those of Antarctic subglacial lakes. In preparation for such space missions, Antarctica is becoming a sort of laboratory where scientists can test their hypotheses about how life might survive in extreme conditions. If life has adapted and survived in these isolated lakes, it opens the possibility for similar forms of life on other planets like Europa, where vast oceans are also suspected to exist beneath the icy crust. These studies not only expand the horizons of astrobiology, but also give hope that we may one day discover signs of life beyond Earth. Scientific expeditions, such as the Lake Vostok Awakening project, organized by Russian scientists, are opening new horizons in understanding life in extreme conditions, which could be critically important for future space missions. Subglacial lakes in Antarctica are not just objects of research, but also symbols of humanity's quest to understand how life can exist in the most unpredictable corners of the universe. 80% of all fresh water on Earth is found in glaciers, and it is possible that Antarctica will be the platform that leads us to the most significant discoveries about life in space. Glacial cores from Antarctica serve as genuine archives of ancient climate, capable of revealing the state of Earth over hundreds of thousands of years. Each core is a cylindrical ice sample with a diameter of about 10 centimeters and a length of several kilometers, extracted from ice caps and glaciers by researchers. These samples contain information about temperature fluctuations, atmospheric composition, volcanic activity, and even the concentration of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and methane. Layers of ice accumulating year by year resemble the rings in a tree trunk, where each year leaves its mark. Deep cores, like those taken at Victoria and Davis stations, can contain ice up to 800,000 years old. This means they can provide data on climate conditions that existed even before the advent of humanity. During the extraction of cores, scientists use specialized drilling rigs that can reach depths of more than 3 kilometers to retrieve ice that has preserved information about distant times. For example, a core obtained in 2015 at the Vostok station became a significant source of data for studying climate changes over the last 80,000 years. Analysis of these cores allows scientists to reconstruct atmospheric pressure, sea level, and even assess the impact of solar activity on climate changes. Each centimeter of ice is a page in the history book of Earth, recording events that shaped our planet. Studying glacial cores helps not only understand how the climate has changed, but also predict how it will change in the future, which is particularly relevant in the context of global warming. Thus, glacial cores become not just samples of ice, but also keys to understanding complex climate processes that have influenced Earth over millions of years. The methods of extracting and analyzing ice cores represent a complex and meticulously planned process that allows us to look into the climatic history of our planet. Special drilling equipment is used to penetrate ice to depths of up to 3 kilometers, extracting cylindrical ice samples with a diameter of about 10 centimeters. These machines, such as auger or friction drilling rigs, ensure the necessary precision and minimize the disruption of ice layers. Drilling is typically carried out in remote and inaccessible regions, such as the Antarctic continent or Greenland, where climatic conditions help preserve historical data. After extraction, the cores are handled with extreme care. They are placed in protective casings to prevent any damage, and then transported to specialized laboratories where the temperature is maintained below -18 degrees Celsius. In these laboratories, ice cores are analyzed in specially equipped cold chambers, where strict conditions are maintained for the preservation of samples. Researchers use various analysis methods, from simple visual inspection of annual layers, which allows the determination of periodic climate changes, to complex mass spectrometry analysis, which enables the study of the composition of air bubbles trapped in the ice. These bubbles are true temporal capsules containing molecules of gases such as carbon dioxide and methane, allowing the assessment of atmospheric gas levels in different historical periods. The isotopic composition of the ice is also subjected to careful analysis to determine the temperature conditions that existed over millions of years. All these methods require high precision and patience, as even a small error can lead to the distortion of data. Specialists working with ice cores must be prepared for long hours of painstaking work, where every detail is important. These labor-intensive analysis methods provide unique information about climatic changes and allow scientists to draw conclusions about how the climate responds to various natural and anthropogenic impacts. The study of ice cores continues to open new horizons in understanding the climatic history of Earth. And with each new sample, scientists gain the ability to reconstruct the climatic conditions that existed in the past. As a result, such research helps us better understand how the climate may change in the future. Remarkably, ice cores not only preserve the history of climate changes, but also serve as true time capsules, enabling the reconstruction of ancient temperatures and atmospheric composition. Scientists such as Dr. Hans Jensen from the University of Copenhagen use the method of analyzing the ratio of oxygen isotopes in water molecules, which allows them to determine the temperature conditions under which the ice was formed. For example, the ratio of oxygen isotopes, O16 and O18 in ice cores, helps establish how much colder or warmer the climate conditions were in the past. Each isotope has unique properties, and depending on their ratio, conclusions can be drawn about the air temperature at the time when snow fell and turned into ice. The analysis of air bubbles trapped in these cores offers even more fascinating possibilities. These bubbles contain atmospheric gases such as carbon dioxide and methane, and their composition allows scientists to learn about the concentration of these gases in the ancient atmosphere. For instance, research conducted in 2012 showed that the level of carbon dioxide during the last interglacial period, about 100,000 years ago, did not exceed 200 parts per million, while in the 20th century, this figure reached over 400 parts per million. This clearly demonstrates how significantly the composition of the atmosphere has changed over a relatively short period. These analysis methods show that the Earth's climate has undergone cyclic changes, including the alternation of glacial and interglacial periods. Each glacial period was characterized by a sharp decrease in temperature and an increase in ice masses, while interglacial periods were marked by warming and melting of the ice. For example, the last glacial period, known as the Würm, ended around 10,000 years ago, leading to significant changes in ecosystems and human migrations. Modern climate models show that the current increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases is occurring at a rate that exceeds any natural changes observed in the past. According to the World Meteorological Organization, the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere in the 21st century is increasing by 3 parts per million each year, which is several times higher than the average values found in ice cores over the last millions of years. This raises serious concerns among scientists, as such a rapid rate of climate change could lead to catastrophic consequences for ecosystems and human societies. Therefore, technologies that use ice cores to reconstruct the climate history allow us to travel back in time, enabling us to see how the climate of the Earth has changed over millions of years and how rapidly it is changing today. Volcanic activity in Antarctica is a topic that requires more attention than it might initially seem. Several volcanoes operate on the continent, with Erebus, Melbourne, and Deception standing out. Mount Erebus, with a height of over 4,000 meters, is one of the most active volcanoes on the planet and constantly emits gases and volcanic dust. Its crater is filled with lava that glows with a reddish hue, creating a striking contrast with the surrounding white ice. Periodic eruptions of this volcano occur with regularity every few months, accompanied by columns of smoke rising to tens of meters in the air and creating an impressive sight. To the southeast lies Mount Melbourne, which also shows signs of activity, although its eruptions are less frequent. Mount Deception, located on the South Shetland Islands archipelago, is known for its powerful fumarole field, where hot gases and steam escape from cracks in the ground, filling the air with a characteristic sulfur smell. These gases can affect the climate not only in the region, but also on a global scale. For instance, the release of particles into the atmosphere can reflect solar radiation, leading to cooling in other parts of the world. Volcanic activity also creates melt zones at the bases of glaciers, as heat from the Earth's interior penetrates the ice cover, disrupting the stability of the icy surface. According to researchers, such processes can lead to an increase in the speed of glacier melting, and consequently, to a rise in global sea levels. For example, Mount Erebus erupted ash and gas into the atmosphere in 2009, significantly affecting the climate in the southern hemisphere. Therefore, the volcanoes of Antarctica not only shape the local landscape, but also have a noticeable impact on global climate processes. The ice cover of Antarctica is not just a colossal repository of ice, but also a cosmic observer, recording climate changes over millions of years. These changes are directly linked to the Milankovitch cycles, which are periodic oscillations in the Earth's orbit and its axis of rotation. These cycles, ranging from 20,000 to 100,000 years in duration, determine the amount of solar radiation reaching the planet's surface. As a result, ice cores extracted from the depths of the ice serve as repositories of information about past climate conditions, allowing scientists to infer these conditions based on temperature and greenhouse gas concentration changes in the atmosphere. For example, analysis of cores taken at the Vostok station revealed that over the past 400,000 years, climate changes occurred due to alternating glacial and interglacial periods, linked to variations in the eccentricity and tilt of the Earth's orbit. These variations trigger mechanisms that influence global climate conditions, leading to significant changes in temperature and carbon dioxide levels. Specifically, during interglacial periods, such as the one we are currently experiencing, atmospheric carbon dioxide levels can reach values of around 360 parts per million, while during glacial periods, they can drop to 250 parts per million. These data indicate that Earth's climate is not a random phenomenon, but a result of complex interactions between astronomical factors. The movement of Earth in space, as research has shown, influences the climate on its surface, determining when and how ice sheets form, which in turn reflect solar radiation and affect global temperatures. Ice cores extracted from Antarctica contain layers that show how climate changed in response to these cycles. For instance, thousands of years ago, during the last glacial period, temperature was 8 degrees lower than it is now. Each layer studied by scientists represents evidence of long-term changes occurring on Earth. Research indicates that even small changes in the tilt of the Earth's axis can lead to significant climatic changes, impacting all living organisms. The connection between astronomical cycles and climate reveals the extraordinary scale of processes occurring on the planet, where temperature and carbon dioxide level changes can be caused by the movement of celestial bodies. In recent years, scientists such as Dr. James Hansen have emphasized the importance of understanding these processes for predicting future climate. From a temporal perspective, even 100 years is but a fleeting moment in Earth's history, and by studying ice cores, we gain the ability to look into the past and see how climate responded to changes in solar radiation caused by Milankovitch cycles. In Antarctica, there is a unique region known as the Dry Valleys of McMurdo, which is remarkable for its Martian-like landscape. These valleys, covering an area of around 14,000 square kilometers, are ice-free territories where reddish-brown rocks, covered in a dark desert tan, create an otherworldly atmosphere. It is astonishing that there is no snow here, and this phenomenon is explained by the combination of unique geographical conditions. Strong katabatic winds blowing from the Antarctic mountains blow the snow off the surface, while the low humidity of the air prevents it from accumulating. As a result, instead of vast white expanses, we see a stony surface where rare patches of lichen and salt crystals on the shores of dried-up lakes give a unique color. These lakes, rich in salts, sometimes resemble mirrors reflecting the bright sun, creating an even more surreal effect. Ancient riverbeds, once flowing through this area, now serve as reminders of the water bodies that once existed here. Scientists like Dr. Jeffrey Lake, studying these areas, note that the dry valleys of McMurdo can serve as a model for studying conditions on Mars, as they demonstrate how life can adapt to extreme conditions. In such places, researchers find fossils that indicate that in the past, there were more humid conditions. For example, in 2001, researchers found fossils of water organisms that were witnesses to a warmer climate. These facts emphasize that even in the harshest conditions of nature, life can exist if it adapts to changing conditions. The dry valleys of McMurdo are not only a geographical wonder, but also a living laboratory for understanding the evolution and climate changes on Earth and beyond. It's hard to imagine that beneath a multi-kilometer layer of ice lie majestic mountain ranges that can rival the Alps in scale. The Gamburtsev Mountains, located in the heart of Antarctica, are one of the largest and most mysterious mountain systems on the planet. The length of this massive range is approximately 700 kilometers, and the height of some peaks exceeds 3,000 meters above sea level. These mountains are covered in ice that reaches a thickness of more than 4 kilometers in places, making their study extremely challenging. In 2017, an international group of scientists using radar and seismic research made a remarkable discovery. They found that beneath the ice sheet lies not just a patch of land, but an entire mountain system that had previously gone unnoticed even by the most experienced geologists. The scientists were stunned to discover that the Gamburtsev Mountains form a complex network of peaks and valleys, which, despite their secrecy, are of immense size and have unique geological features. It turns out that the origin of these mountains is still a subject of debate among specialists. Some geologists suggest that the Gamburtsev Mountains were formed as a result of the collision of ancient continental plates that converged at this location millions of years ago, while others link them to volcanic activity, proposing that there were once active volcanoes in this remote corner of the planet. These hypotheses open new avenues for research, as each of them could change our understanding of the geological history of Antarctica. The enigma of the Gamburtsev Mountains remains unsolved, and this discovery only underscores how much more there is to learn about our world. The secrets hidden beneath the ice could reveal information about ancient climatic changes and the evolution of life on Earth, making the study of this mountain system particularly relevant. Under the icy cover of Antarctica lies a whole world of subglacial rivers, streams, and lakes that form a complex hydrological system. Meltwater, formed at the base of the ice sheet due to the pressure of the ice and geothermal heat, creates conditions for the formation of these waterways. Scientists such as Dr. Jennifer Fraser from the University of St. Andrews have been studying this system for the past few years and have discovered that subglacial lakes, such as Lake Vostok, are connected by a network of subglacial rivers that can extend for tens of kilometers. Water moves from one lake to another, creating dynamic flows that affect the movement of the ice sheet. Recent research based on satellite imagery and ground measurements has shown that this system is much more active and complex than previously thought. For example, in the 21st century, a group of scientists from the US, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, discovered that there are channels under the ice sheet that can fill with meltwater in just a few days, which can in turn cause rapid changes in the movement of glaciers. The complex processes occurring in these hidden waterways can have a significant impact on the stability of glaciers and sea levels. In particular, scientists have noticed that subglacial hydrology can act as a catalyst, accelerating melting processes in the context of global warming. Existing rivers and lakes hidden under kilometers of ice remain virtually invisible, creating a mysterious feeling of a hidden world that continues to exist in darkness and cold. This hidden system is a key to understanding not only the geological history of the region, but also global climate changes. For example, in 2020, a research group led by Dr. Alex Bonnet from the University of Cambridge published results showing that subglacial rivers can have a significant impact on the speed of glacier movement, helping scientists make more accurate predictions about the consequences of climate change. Systems of subglacial lakes and rivers, which vary in size and depth, can reach tens of meters in depth, and some of them may even contain unique ecosystems adapted to extreme conditions. These ecosystems may provide insights into how life can survive in conditions similar to those on other planets, such as Europa, a moon of Jupiter. Research on Antarctic subglacial hydrology continues, and it emphasizes how little we know about the processes of ice melt and their consequences for our world. Such research opens new horizons in understanding how hidden water systems can influence climate processes, and thus the future of our planet. In a world where winter reigns year-round, Antarctica hides beneath its icy mantle true geothermal oases that defy all natural laws. On Deception Island, part of the South Shetland Islands, there are hot springs where the water temperature can reach 90 degrees Celsius. These springs present a stunning spectacle. Clouds of steam rise from the water's surface, creating a mystical atmosphere, while vibrant colored mineral deposits, such as gray-yellow, orange, and red, contrast with the pristine white ice and snow around. The mineral-rich water forms intricate patterns on the rocks and creates unique ecosystems where microorganisms have adapted to extreme conditions. Microbiologists from various universities worldwide, including the University of Alaska, study these microorganisms, finding that they can survive high temperatures and high mineralization. This discovery has far-reaching implications for biology, as such organisms could serve as models for the search for life on other planets, such as Mars or Jupiter's moons, where conditions may be similar. The Teweit Glacier in western Antarctica also conceals numerous hot springs that flow from the Earth's depths, creating boiling streams that flood ice fields, creating an incredible contrast between heat and cold. These streams not only form unique landscapes, but also influence the dynamics of glaciers, contributing to their melting. Research conducted in 2020 showed that the hot springs under the Teweit Glacier can reach temperatures above 100 degrees Celsius, making them some of the hottest known sources in Antarctica. Around these oases, life thrives not only in nature, but also in scientific research, which helps understand how organisms can adapt to such extreme conditions. Microorganisms like thermophilic bacteria find here ideal conditions for their existence, and their study opens new horizons in microbiology and biotechnology. These sources attract not only scientists, but also climatologists who study how geothermal processes affect the regional climate. Research shows that the warm water flowing from these sources can influence the study of glacier dynamics and their consequences for global sea levels. Antarctica is far from being a homogeneous ice desert. It is a true kaleidoscope of landscapes where ice plateaus neighbor with mountain ranges and shelf glaciers contrast with volcanic islands. For instance, on the western coast of Antarctica, there are volcanic islands such as Deception Island, where black volcanic peaks rise above dazzling white plains. These peaks, reaching heights of over 500 meters, create a dramatic contrast with the surrounding landscape, and their steep slopes are covered in black basalt that stands out vividly against the pristine snow. Notably, light plays a remarkable role here, creating hues from bright blue glaciers to reddish-brown rocks in dry valleys like the McMurdo Valley, where wind blows away the snow, exposing the rocky surface. These rocks, in turn, give the area unique forms, enhancing the feeling of wild nature. Glaciers like the Taylor Glacier appear like giant waves frozen in motion, with their blue hues resulting from light absorption, creating a magical effect. The change of seasons and time of day imparts its own characteristics to these landscapes. At midday, the sun can shine blindingly on the ice plains, reflecting off them, while at sunset, the grand hues of orange and purple envelop the rocks, creating an atmosphere of mystery. The long polar nights fill the space with cold moonlight, and stars shine brightly against the clear sky, making this continent particularly attractive to researchers. Research shows that the diversity of Antarctica's landscapes not only visually captivates, but also serves as home to unique ecosystems, including penguin colonies on shelf glaciers and rare mosses and lichens that survive in extreme cold conditions. In this context, Antarctica becomes not just an object of climate study, but also a crucial indicator of global ecological changes. 80% of the world's fresh water is contained in Antarctic ice, making it vital for understanding the global sea level, which is currently rising by several millimeters per year. The ice cover of Antarctica is not just a massive ice sheet, but a crucial component of the global climate system, functioning as a giant air conditioner for our planet. The snow-white surface of this continent reflects up to 90% of sunlight, significantly reducing the absorption of heat and preventing its accumulation in the atmosphere. This phenomenon, known as albedo, plays a critical role in maintaining the temperature balance, not only in Antarctica, but also on the entire Earth. For instance, according to researchers from the Antarctic Scientific Institute, if the ice cover were to decrease by as little as 15%, this would lead to a significant increase in temperature, as the lack of reflected light would mean that more solar radiation heat is absorbed by the oceans and the Earth's surface. This process can result in cascading effects, where increased temperature leads to even more melting of ice, creating a so-called positive feedback loop. Therefore, a reduction in the area of the ice cover not only changes the climate conditions directly in Antarctica, but also affects global climate models, causing changes in weather patterns and an increase in the frequency of extreme weather events, such as hurricanes and droughts. Studies show that the average temperature in Antarctica has increased by 3.5 degrees Celsius over the past 50 years. And this is not just a statistic. It is a real signal that the ice continent, which acts as a thermoregulator, is under threat. In particular, the ice system of Western Antarctica, where melting is occurring most rapidly, could become a catastrophe for the entire planetary climate if no measures are taken to protect it. Each year, scientists from various countries, including the United States, Norway, and Australia, conduct comprehensive research using satellite technology and underwater drones to monitor changes in the state of the ice and predict the future consequences for the entire planet. Based on these data, it becomes clear that the ice cover of Antarctica is not just ice, but a vital element on which the climatic stability of the entire world depends. On the icy expanses of Antarctica, one can encounter a remarkable natural phenomenon: cryoconite holes. These small bodies of water, which form on the surface of glaciers, are true oases of life in this harsh climate. They are formed when dark particles of dust, carried by wind from distant lands, settle on the icy surface. These particles absorb solar heat, causing the ice beneath them to melt and form small but deep pockets of water. Each such hole appears as a dark spot on the pristine white surface of the glacier, standing out in contrast and attracting the attention of researchers. These bodies of water have their own unique ecosystems, which include a variety of microorganisms, from algae to bacteria and microscopic animals. For example, in cryoconite holes, one can find algae such as Chlamydomonas nivalis, which give the water a greenish tint and serve as food for small animals like crustaceans and nematodes. These organisms create complex food chains, allowing life to flourish even in such extreme conditions. Research conducted in 2017 by scientists from the University of Copenhagen showed that cryoconite holes can be home to numerous forms of life, including bacteria that can survive at temperatures of -30 degrees Celsius. The formation of such holes occurs mainly in the summer, when temperatures rise above zero, creating temporary but vital ecosystems. These microecosystems serve not only as shelters for microorganisms, but also play a crucial role in the carbon cycle, absorbing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. The number of cryoconite holes on Antarctic glaciers is constantly increasing, and this is linked to global warming. For instance, in 2018, scientists observed a 30% increase in the number of such holes compared to the previous decade. These changes demonstrate how rapidly the ecosystem is changing and raise serious concerns about the future of Antarctica. Cryoconite holes are not just bodies of water. They are true markers of climate change, showing how life finds ways to adapt even in the most inhospitable conditions. In Antarctica, hidden beneath the ice are remarkable subglacial rivers and waterfalls that are true wonders of nature. For instance, the blood falls in the dry valleys of McMurdo cause awe with their vivid red color, which appears due to salt and iron oxide in the brackish water flowing from the subglacial Lake Taylor. These streams, sparkling against the backdrop of pristine white ice and gray rocks, create the illusion of the glacier bleeding. The blood falls are not just a spectacle, they are also a source of information about ancient life. In the water live microorganisms that have evolved over millions of years in isolation from the outside world, adapting to extreme conditions. These organisms are living fossils, retaining their unique genetic characteristics, and their study helps scientists understand how life might exist on other planets like Mars. The water from the blood falls has a temperature of around -12 degrees Celsius, indicating that the subglacial lakes remain liquid due to their high salinity. These conditions create unique ecosystems where life finds ways to survive in the harshest environments. Research conducted in 2016 by a group of scientists led by Dr. Jake Sullivan showed that these microorganisms could serve as a key to understanding exoplanets, as they demonstrate how life can adapt to conditions different from those we are accustomed to. It is worth noting that the blood falls have become increasingly accessible to researchers year after year, allowing us to deepen our knowledge of Earth's climate and ecosystems. They are a testament to how nature can create unique and captivating phenomena that not only amaze but also open new horizons for scientific research. In 2018, scientists observed an increase in the activity of subglacial rivers in Antarctica, which may be linked to global climate change. The blood falls, along with other subglacial rivers, serve as markers of these changes, showing how rapidly the environment is changing. The existence of such unique ecosystems as the blood falls continues to inspire scientists in their search for answers to questions about how life can develop in the most extreme conditions. These studies not only deepen our understanding of Earth, but also open up prospects for the search for life on other planets. Antarctic shelf glaciers are colossal floating ice platforms that extend from the continent's shore into the ocean for hundreds of kilometers. These gigantic formations can rival the size of France and are true natural wonders. The thickness of shelf glaciers varies from several tens to several hundred meters, creating impressive and dazzlingly white flat surfaces that drop off into sheer walls, sometimes reaching the height of multi-story buildings. The appearance of shelf glaciers is striking. Their surfaces gleam in the sun, reflecting light like giant mirrors, while cracks and fractures reveal vivid shades of blue and green, created by atmospheric and light effects. As glaciers move, they produce various sounds, from the soft creaking when ice slowly shifts to the thunderous roar when icebergs break off and plunge into the ocean, creating waves that can reach several meters in height. These sounds become part of the unique Antarctic symphony that attracts scientists and researchers from around the world. Shelf glaciers play a crucial role in stabilizing continental glaciers, acting as natural dams. They hold back the movement of ice towards the ocean, preventing it from melting rapidly, and thus maintaining the global sea level. Studies show that changes in water and air temperature can weaken these ice dams, which in turn threatens the global sea level. For instance, the Larsen Shelf Glacier, which has been studied since the late 1990s, has lost significant volumes of ice, leading to noticeable changes in its structure and dynamics. In 2012, scientists observed a massive iceberg the size of Maine breaking off, which was a significant event highlighting the fragility of this ecosystem. Shelf glaciers are not only unique objects for studying climate change, but also serve as important indicators of the state of the global ecosystem, showing how rapidly the environment is changing. Antarctica is not just an icy continent, but also a unique laboratory for studying the cosmos. On its pristine white expanses, one can often see dark rocks, meteoroids that stand out against the snow and ice. These cosmic bodies, which can vary in size from a few grams to tens of kilograms, have a characteristic melted surface, indicating that they have survived atmospheric breaking as they entered Earth's atmosphere. When glaciers move, they lift and transport these meteoroids, creating what are essentially traps where they accumulate, forming entire collections. For example, in 2008, a group of Japanese scientists discovered more than 300 meteoroids in one such location in the Adélie region, suggesting a high concentration of cosmic material in this area. Meteoroids found in Antarctica can have various origins. Some come from the Moon, while others are from Mars. This makes Antarctica not only a window into Earth's past, but also into the history of our solar system. For instance, the NWA 7034 meteoroid, discovered in 2013, is Martian and contains minerals that help scientists understand the geology of the red planet. The unique dry and cold climate of Antarctica preserves meteoroids in almost ideal condition, protecting them from erosion and contamination. For example, some meteoroids have retained their original shapes and textures, allowing researchers to conduct detailed analysis of their composition and origin. As a result, Antarctica becomes a treasure trove for astronomers and geologists eager to unravel the mysteries of the cosmos and understand how our planet and neighboring worlds formed. Meteoroids found on this continent are a vital source of information about processes that occurred in the solar system billions of years ago. Fossils discovered in Antarctica evoke both surprise and admiration. Millions of years ago, this continent was not an icy wasteland, but a lush forest filled with southern beeches, ferns, and conifers. During excavations, researchers have uncovered petrified tree trunks that have preserved annual rings, allowing them to determine the age of the vegetation. For instance, one petrified trunk found in the Wilkes region had a diameter of about 1 meter and dated back to around 40 million years ago. Leaf imprints found nearby clearly show the veins and shape, helping scientists identify the plant species. These discoveries indicate that the climate at that time was significantly warmer than it is now, with temperatures likely reaching 20 degrees Celsius. Pollen found in sedimentary layers suggests a diverse flora that could have thrived in conditions when Antarctica was closer to the equator. Scientists like Dr. Paul Barnes from the University of Adelaide study these fossils to reconstruct ancient climates, as they provide insights into the climatic changes that have occurred over millions of years. The ancient forests that once thrived on this land starkly contrast with the modern landscape, where cold and lifelessness reign. These findings not only enrich our understanding of the past, but also help us comprehend how the continent's ecosystem has evolved over time and what factors have influenced climatic changes. By analyzing the carbon content in the fossils, scientists can determine the level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere during that period, which is crucial for understanding contemporary climate processes. For example, a sample found on Seymour Island showed that the level of carbon dioxide was twice as high as it is now, indicating active carbon cycles. These data become particularly important in light of current climate changes as we strive to predict the future of our planet. The discovery of fossils in Antarctica is indeed a scientific sensation, opening new horizons for research and understanding our planet. Imagine the majestic underwater mountains and deep valleys hidden beneath the thick ice of Antarctica, shaping the unique landscape of this mysterious continent. The Transantarctic Mountains, stretching over 3,500 kilometers, divide Antarctica into two parts, creating natural barriers that significantly impact the climate. These mountains reach heights of over 4,000 meters, and their peaks are often covered in eternal snow and ice. Some valleys and canyons, such as the dry valleys, descend below sea level, adding complexity to understanding the local geography. This landscape not only shapes the appearance of Antarctica, but also determines the dynamics of the ice flows. The ice masses moving down the slopes of the mountains encounter obstacles that create complex patterns of ice movement, forming the characteristic ice cover we see today. Research conducted by scientists from the Norwegian Polar Institute in 2000 showed that the topography beneath the ice of the Weddell Sea influences the rate of its retreat. If the ice were to melt, Antarctica would appear as an archipelago of islands separated by straits, rather than the single landmass we are accustomed to seeing on maps. This underwater world, with its deep canyons and sharp peaks, remains largely unexplored. But its geology speaks of millions of years of history when the continent was in vastly different climatic conditions. Scientists predict that with global warming, the sea level could rise by more than 6 meters if the entire ice cap of Antarctica melts, making this hidden landscape relevant for future generations. Underwater research projects, such as the Antarctica 2030 initiative, are aimed at studying these features to better understand how the world will change if the ice cover disappears. Tectonic movements in this region also play a significant role in shaping the landscape, creating new structures under the ice that can affect their stability. In Antarctica, there are hidden subglacial canyons, some of which are deeper than the Grand Canyon. One such canyon, located under the Denman Ice Shelf, is the deepest terrestrial point on Earth, descending to 3,500 meters below sea level. This canyon was likely formed by ancient rivers that flowed across the continent before it became glaciated, and was subsequently deepened by the movement of glaciers that transported large volumes of ice, creating extraordinary geological features. Research shows that its dimensions and depth are breathtaking. The canyon is up to 1 kilometer wide, and its floor may contain deposits that hold information about the climate and ecosystems that existed here millions of years ago. Such canyons are typically hidden from human eyes, but their study is becoming increasingly important for understanding how water circulates beneath the ice sheet and how this affects its stability. Scientists working on international projects, such as the Antarctic Subglacial Access and Ice Drilling Initiative, use modern technologies, including radar and geophysical methods, to explore these remote areas. One significant aspect of such research is that subglacial canyons can serve as indicators of changes in Earth's climate system. The deepening of canyons beneath glaciers can also influence the rate at which they melt, which is directly linked to global sea levels. Rising ocean temperatures cause glaciers to lose stability, and deeper canyons can accelerate this process by allowing water to reach the base of the glaciers more quickly, creating additional risks for global climate. Studying subglacial canyons gives scientists a better understanding of the complex processes occurring in Antarctica and their impact on the planet as a whole. On November 18, 2022, a group of scientists working on the Eastern Antarctic Ice Sheet project presented results that confirm that the rate of glacier melt in the region is increasing, and subglacial canyons play a crucial role in this process. In Antarctica, unique atmospheric phenomena can astound even the most skeptical individuals. Halos are optical effects created by the refraction and reflection of sunlight in ice crystals suspended in the atmosphere. These phenomena can appear as colorful rings around the sun, sometimes reaching a diameter of up to 45 degrees. The most vivid halos are observed on clear days when the air is exceptionally clean and the ice crystals are well formed. Under the right conditions, parhelia, also known as false suns, can appear in the sky as bright light spots beside the solar disk. These spots can be as bright as the sun itself and sometimes create the illusion of two suns on the horizon. Vertical light columns rising from the horizon can also form under specific conditions, creating a stunning effect as light reflects off ice crystals and penetrates the atmosphere. These phenomena become particularly captivating in the evening hours when the sun sets and paints the sky in orange-red hues, while ice crystals form intricate color patterns. The state of the atmosphere plays a crucial role in the formation of these effects. They are less noticeable on cloudy days, while clear nights can offer viewers a breathtaking spectacle. Early explorers such as Ernest Shackleton and Robert Scott documented these phenomena in their diaries. They often perceived them as mystical signs capable of foreshadowing future events. For instance, Shackleton described how halos could evoke a sense of extraordinary beauty and even unease when his team encountered harsh snowstorms and blizzards. These atmospheric phenomena evoke awe and reverence, highlighting the magic and mystery of this harsh continent. In Antarctica, where living conditions are extremely harsh, nature creates true light shows that are difficult to describe in words. These are not just atmospheric phenomena, but genuine natural spectacles formed by the unique interaction of light and ice. Astrophysicists and meteorologists continue to study these effects to understand how they occur and what factors influence their appearance. For example, research shows that ice crystals in the air can range in size from several micrometers to tens of millimeters, and their shape can vary significantly, which in turn affects how light passes through them. These studies not only help in understanding the nature of Antarctica, but also contribute to a broader context of studying atmospheric phenomena on other planets. Catactic winds of Antarctica are among the most powerful and destructive natural phenomena on the planet. These winds, descending from high ice plateaus under the influence of gravity, can reach speeds of up to 300 kilometers per hour, making them the strongest ground winds on Earth. When such winds begin to blow, they create a sound ranging from a low hum to a piercing whistle, capable of drowning out conversation. At the same time, the wind raises light snow, creating a white fog when the horizon disappears in a snowstorm. In such conditions, even experienced mountaineers can lose their bearings and get off track. These winds possess incredible strength, capable of knocking down well-prepared people and overturning lightweight structures such as tents and temporary shelters, leaving behind only chaos and destruction. The impact of catactic winds on the landscape of Antarctica should not be underestimated. They shape bizarre snow and ice formations, eroding entire valleys down to the bedrock and creating unique geological features. For example, in some places, vast plateaus can be seen, stripped of snow, leaving only bare ice and rock on the surface. These processes occur over thousands of years, forming impressive ice sculptures known to only a few. As a result of the action of these winds, so-called ice caps are formed, which can reach tens of meters in height and resemble enormous white columns reaching for the sky. Research shows that catactic winds have a significant impact on climate conditions, distributing cold air across the entire continent and influencing the formation of glaciers. An important aspect is that these winds themselves help maintain the low temperatures necessary for the existence of vast ice shields, which in turn play a key role in global climate. Scientific research conducted in Antarctica shows that catactic winds can cause changes in ecosystems, affecting animal migration and the distribution of vegetation. Scientists such as Dr. Emily Hart from the National Science Foundation of the USA note that understanding catactic winds can help in predicting climate changes on the planet. Thus, in the 21st century, there is a trend toward an increase in the frequency and intensity of these winds, which can lead to further destruction of glaciers. It is important to note that catactic winds not only affect nature, but also humans, creating serious conditions for research and expeditions. Antarctic stations, such as the McMurdo Station, face challenges related to these winds, requiring scientists and researchers to constantly adapt and find new solutions to protect equipment and ensure safety. The wind that can shape the landscape and disrupt researchers' plans remains one of the most mysterious and powerful manifestations of nature on the planet. The polar night and polar day in Antarctica are unique phenomena that differ significantly from the familiar rhythm of life on other continents. During the Antarctic winter, from the end of March to the end of September, the sun does not rise above the horizon, plunging the entire continent into unending darkness. This darkness does not merely deprive of light, it creates an atmosphere where stars shine with extraordinary brilliance, and polar auroras, known as auroras, tear through the blackness, creating breathtaking light shows. The glow, caused by the interaction of the solar wind with Earth's magnetic field, can take various colors, from green to violet, and its beauty captivates even the most seasoned researchers. At this time, the sky takes on a deep blue hue that emphasizes the vastness of space and makes people feel their own smallness in this immense world. On the other hand, during the Antarctic summer, from the end of September to the end of March, the sun does not set below the horizon, creating conditions for constant light. This polar day leads to the sky becoming a pale blue, and the sun describes circles above the horizon. On such days, light penetrates even the most hidden corners of the icy continent, creating an illusion of infinity, as if time stands still. These extreme light conditions have serious consequences for the biological rhythms of all living beings, including humans. Researchers working at Antarctic stations face disruptions to their natural sleep-wake cycles. Without the usual alternation of day and night, many of them struggle with adaptation, which can lead to physical and mental disturbances. As a result, researchers are forced to develop special lighting regimes and work schedules to minimize the negative effects. For example, at the McMurdo station, special lamps that mimic sunlight are used to help staff maintain normal biorhythms. This underscores the importance of light for humans and their mental state. Data on how polar phenomena affect human health and productivity are becoming increasingly relevant. Studies show that prolonged darkness can cause depression and reduce productivity, while constant light can lead to sleep disorders. Observing these unusual phenomena, it becomes clear how strongly nature influences life and health, forcing adaptation to conditions that seem completely alien. The polar night and polar day in Antarctica are not just climatic conditions. They pose a serious challenge to anyone who undertakes research on this icy continent. Unusual organisms, such as tardigrades, inhabit Antarctica and represent true wonders of nature. These microscopic creatures, measuring only 1 to 1 millimeter in length, resemble tiny 8-legged creatures with a bear-like gait. Under a microscope, they can be seen with 8 short legs that allow them to move across the surface of ice and snow crystals. Remarkably, tardigrades can survive conditions that seem absolutely intolerable for most living organisms. They withstand temperatures close to absolute zero and can exist under high doses of radiation, making them true extremophiles. These organisms can enter a state of cryptobiosis, where all life processes almost cease. In this state, they can maintain their viability for decades, sometimes even centuries, entering a kind of hibernation. During this time, they can lose up to 99% of their water content, allowing them to survive in conditions of dehydration. Research conducted in 2000 by Professor Ken Nobile of St. Andrews University showed that even after prolonged periods in cryptobiosis, tardigrades can return to active life when conditions become more favorable. This discovery underscores the incredible adaptability of life to extreme environmental conditions. Scientists believe that studying tardigrades could provide insights into the limits of life's survival and help in the search for life on other planets, such as Mars or Jupiter's moons, where conditions are also extreme for living organisms. For example, in 2009, Italian scientists conducted experiments by sending tardigrades into open space for several days, and they were able to survive in conditions of vacuum and cosmic radiation. These facts open new horizons for astrobiology and demonstrate that life can exist in the most unusual and harsh conditions. Tardigrades are not the only extremophiles in Antarctica. Among them, one can also find bacteria and archaea that have adapted to life in icy water and even in salt lakes, where the salt concentration is 10 times higher than in the ocean. For example, salt lakes in Antarctica, such as Lake Vostok, contain organisms that can grow at temperatures close to -70 degrees Celsius. This highlights that life on Earth is incredibly diverse and capable of adapting to the most extreme conditions. Antarctica is a unique continent that has become a symbol of international cooperation and scientific progress. Since the signing of the Antarctic Treaty in 1959, this continent has not belonged to any country and is used exclusively for peaceful purposes. This treaty, signed by 12 countries including the United States, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and Australia, prohibits any military actions, nuclear tests, and the extraction of mineral resources on the territory of Antarctica. As a result of this agreement, a foundation was laid for scientific research, leading to the discovery of numerous interesting facts about the climate and ecosystems of the continent. Currently, more than 40 scientific stations operate on Antarctica, managed by more than 30 countries, including Russia, China, Argentina, and Norway. These stations are located close to each other, creating opportunities for joint research and information exchange among scientists from different parts of the world. For example, in 1996, a research expedition was conducted by scientists from Australia and New Zealand who jointly studied the impact of climate change on ice sheets. Through international cooperation, scientists share data on climate, geology, and biology of the region, which helps to better understand not only Antarctica, but also global climate changes. Participants in scientific programs often work together, conducting research and sharing knowledge, demonstrating that significant achievements can be made even in harsh climatic conditions. It is important to note that the Antarctic Treaty also contributes to the protection of the environment by establishing strict ecological standards for scientific activity on the continent. For example, all countries conducting research in Antarctica must follow rules regarding waste disposal and minimizing the impact on nature. As a result, despite its harsh conditions, Antarctica has become a kind of laboratory for studying changes occurring on the planet. Scientists study not only climate changes, but also marine ecosystems, such as krill and penguin populations, which play a key role in the food chain of the Southern Ocean. In 1989, the Program for the Protection of Marine Ecosystems was created, aimed at studying and protecting marine flora and fauna, as well as preventing human impact on these fragile ecosystems. Due to international cooperation, Antarctica has become not only a scientific, but also an ecological zone, a place where different countries can work together, leaving aside their political differences. Scientific discoveries made here have global significance and help understand how changes in one region can affect the entire planet. For example, the study of changes in the ice cover helps predict sea level and its impact on coastal areas around the world. With each passing year, more countries are recognizing the importance of Antarctica as a resource for scientific research and environmental protection. In 1998, the Protocol on Environmental Protection to the Antarctic Treaty was adopted, emphasizing the importance of preserving the unique ecosystem of the continent. This protocol has become the basis for further efforts to protect nature and sustainable development in the Antarctic region.